that actually just blows my mind.
Yeah.
That, like, as a 16-year-old, you're like, right then, let's just set up a business.
Yeah, it's all well and good, you know, having a great working relationship with someone. But I think, especially as a family business, those lines have to be blurred. If we make this business a success, nobody can take that away from us because we built it from the ground up.
Yes.
And it's like that purpose and that goal is like incredible. And working towards that, it makes all the pressure worth it.
Hey everyone, big thanks for supporting the podcast. We really do appreciate it. If you want to hear more from us, hit the subscribe button or press the bell icon for future updates.
Welcome, Louis.
Thank you very much.
How are you doing?
Yeah, good. I'm very good. Tired. I hope that doesn't show up on the camera. But very tired. Yeah, coming off a record-breaking Black Friday, thanks to obviously your guys' help as well. So yeah, very, very good.
Amazing. So,
Yeah.
do you just want to introduce yourself and what you do?
Yeah, sure. So my name's Louis Jones. I am the founder of Surprise Shirts. So we are a company selling mystery football shirts, surprise football shirts. So essentially the concept is you buy a box from us, you tell us your size and which teams you don't want, and we surprise you with a football shirt from anywhere around the world. So started the business when I was 16, back in August 2020, lockdown, so I'm 20 now. Essentially wanted to get out of doing my paper round, getting up at 6 in the morning and you know, make 20 quid a week, the same sort of 20 quid a week.
That actually just blows my mind.
Yeah.
That, like, as a 16-year-old, you're like, right then, let's just set up a business. Like, I wouldn't even be remotely in my like brain. I suppose what do you think kind of made you? You are quite unique in that way. There's not many people that set up a business when they're 16. Let's face it.
Yeah, that's true.
So what was the main kind of like drivers to doing that, rather than just like was it money? Was it?
I think it was probably born out of, so like I said, so getting up at 6 and I'd got out of the habit of doing it because I had asthma. It'd never been a problem in my life, but at that time COVID was really scary, so stopped doing my paper round, got out of the habit, was getting up a bit later, and I thought, okay, what can I do to make the same 20 quid a week and sleep an extra hour in bed, right? Pretty simple. Always loved football shirts, so just combined a love of football shirts from all over the world, you know, playing FIFA and seeing all the different kits on the game.
Yeah. Love that.
So just thought, okay, why don't I box up a football shirt and sell it to my mates for, you know, £10 extra. They don't know what they're getting. So I think for me, it was never something as formal as let's start a business that's going to be my career for the next 10 years or whatever it was.
And was this already a concept of business that was already there? Because I remember buying a mystery football shirt for my my brother-in-law.
Yeah.
It wasn't a surprise shirt, unfortunately. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I'm really
Cut
sorry
that
about that. Yeah. But this was something that I was already aware of before we started working with you guys. So I knew that there were quite when I was doing a bit of research, there was a few companies already doing it, but this was maybe 3 years ago.
Yeah, so not to my knowledge at that point.
Yeah.
I think there were a couple of companies kind of trialed it or just started doing it, but it wasn't like a commercial thing. So it's very rare. And at 16, I probably didn't realise it's that much, but I think it's quite rare you find a commercial opportunity that has so much potential that nobody's touched properly.
Yeah.
And it's kind of frustrates me that I found that at 16, not where I am now, 4 years later, because I think I'd have adapted a bit quicker and we maybe would be further on, but I can beat myself up about that. But,
Yeah.
you know, that's the story and that's the journey. But
Absolutely.
but,
yeah.
But so no, it just kind of fell into my lap. But going back to your point about where does it come from, I'd always been not like that. Like I wasn't selling sweets at school or anything, but I started. I don't know if you know the clothing brand Supreme, but I used to like buy things on Supreme drops. This is like 14. I'm 14.
Yeah.
I'd buy a hoodie for 100 quid and try and sell it for 200 quid, and that's just I probably made £1,000 doing that. Like over,
Which is a lot of money for a 14-year-old.
Which is a lot of money if you're 14, just
Yeah.
spending it on FIFA points.
Yeah.
Which is what I was doing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just think it came naturally. I'd always wanted to just, you know, have a couple of extra quid in my pocket. I've always been someone that naturally tries to find a solution to a problem in my life. So be it, you know, like
Not
just
being able
literally
to
just
spend enough on
starting
FIFA.
this. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Or starting this out of a necessity to do it instead of my paper round. You know, just finding things like that. But yeah, it's got us to a crazy place today, 4 years later.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we're skipping a lot there. And so then, so you're 16, you're selling it to your mates. Then what? Then how does it go from that to the next level?
Yeah, so started literally selling through just talking to my mates, and then it was Depop, the fashion app, like the second-hand clothing app. Got banned from there eventually because you weren't allowed to sell mystery boxes or whatever.
Right.
And that was like the end of the world at that point.
Yeah.
That was your route to market pretty much gone.
Literally that. So I was sat in the sixth form centre refreshing Depop all day. Then natural progression after that is to make social media accounts. So it was X, Twitter, which became really big. So I think how it kind of, the ball got rolling there was Dad and I are Coventry fans. So we had a kind of community of Coventry fans on Twitter anyway that we were interacting with. So I posted it on my account and said, I'm starting this business. 16-year-old lad, not hiding my age. So I think naturally people who we kind of half knew were like, I'll support him.
Yes.
So they purchased one, 25 quid for a kid's or 30 quid for an adult's or whatever it was at that point. I'll invest that for a nice thing to do for someone I kind of half know or a friend of mine.
Yeah. It's great.
Because it's a very visual product.
Yeah, it's a brilliant idea.
You can see, crazy shirts from all over the world.
Yeah.
People would share it on social media. And then that just word of mouth and retweets and then doing things like competitions just grew a social media profile. And it got to a point where if you're taking orders through DMs on Twitter, that involves sending someone my personal bank details. It's the biggest, it looks like a scam. So eventually you get to a point where you realise that's not the way you do business, that's not sustainable. And at that point, it kind of coincided with, obviously COVID was crazy at that point, lockdowns and things. So Dad got made redundant through, or put on furlough and then made redundant while I was at sixth form. So he, as we kind of grew and gained a bit of momentum through Depop and Twitter, he started helping out in the day, just having nothing to do. But he's probably more of like a sort of process guy, like a doer, whereas I've got just kind of more creativity, a bit more kind of entrepreneurial spirit maybe than he does. So it was like a nice natural balance. But just eventually, as you keep growing and Dad got involved a bit more, it's like, right, well, this isn't sustainable. We can't manage it through Twitter DMs, so we need a website. So he got made redundant eventually after being put on furlough. And we just used that small amount of money he got and invested it in a website. It was a really stressful decision at that point,
It's a lot of money. Yes.
Like thousands of pounds into a website for a 16-year-old's business that had kind of had no... we'd done all right. We'd done well through Twitter, but no
Still
substance.
risky.
There's nothing behind it. It was literally a pile of shirts under our dining room table.
Yeah.
And I've got pictures, of Christmas Day 4 years ago, or Christmas time 4 years ago, under our Christmas tree, like 100 Argentina shirts laid out. So it was crazy, but
it's great that your dad believed in you on that as
Yeah,
well,
it is.
because that is a step, isn't it, to go from that underneath the kitchen table to actually like, let's do it as a bit more. Once you take that website, it becomes a commercial decision, doesn't it? Then it becomes a business at that point.
Absolutely. But as you say before that, you're kind of investing in a dream, really, aren't you? So that is a big risk, especially for our family. Like now, it's easy to say, but it's true. Everything's on the line, So it's my full-time business job. It's Dad's full-time. It's Mum's full-time. We've got other staff as well who we've got to put the food on their table, or enable that.
That's what happens in business, though, isn't it? The more that you grow, the stakes are higher. Not only because the amount of money that's going in and out is higher, but also you're employing more people, and you generally have relationships with those people,
exactly.
And you kind of respect them. But then also the added element of that, your whole family, is then now.
Yeah.
And how do you handle that? Because I think for me, obviously, now we've been running a business for like 10 years at this point. I'm a dad as well at this point, so like it. Naturally, I'm already having those thoughts of like I need to support my children and stuff. Yeah. But when I worked for someone else, I just had no it didn't even cross my brain that this was a thing, that you had to, the stress and the burden of knowing that you got to look at the numbers, you got to make sure you can pay people and all this stuff. That is quite stressful. So how do you find that? How do you deal with that? Because it's very hard to switch off from that when it's your own business.
Absolutely. I don't think there is any switching off. Is the honest truth. It's a lot of, I could lie and say it's not, but it's a lot of sacrifice in terms of I don't have that much of a social life. It's long hours. I probably look very tired because I am. We've been working till 1 in the morning at night. It's just you just do what's necessary. So it's like there's
a journey there, I suppose, as well, because like for us, we're still transitioning through that journey, but hiring people who you can take that responsibility away from you kind of relieves a little bit of that burden. That it doesn't relieve the full burden. There's still loads of shit that happens that you still have to deal with, but it helps with that.
Yeah. I think my experience, my personal experience as well, after doing it, especially after doing it for like being in business for 6 or 7 years, it's like how much of that level of work and responsibility and long hours can I realistically do?
Yeah.
It pushes you to that limit.
Yeah.
Especially when bad things happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that is where your resilience, I think, kicks in.
I think it's like that. It's like it's a constant pressure that you can't escape. And it's, as you say, and it's the pressure of other people. And yeah, you can relinquish that, but then again, it's your baby, and it's, you know, wanting to do everything right, you know, wanting to do everything and be in control of everything and shape the business into what I want it to be. So, or what we want it to be, you know, Dad and I.
And part of that sometimes for me has been actually, because I'm a perfectionist, like absolute perfectionist in everything I do. Whether I'm putting up a picture on a wall, it's like, it's got to be dead on, that kind of thing, like in everything. So like, but the same with work. It really bothers me if I don't solve a problem. I don't know if it's like a odd trait that I have, but like, it really eats away at me. And part of that journey has been hiring people and then realizing maybe they don't do it quite as perfect as you want, but they'll do something else better than you, the way you perceive. So it's kind of like part of that journey has been allowing that to actually be a thing where things maybe some things aren't as quite as perfect here, but then they're better here, and then someone else comes in and then they do this perfect, but then they do that perfect, and that kind of thing.
I think that's spot on, and the kind of way I've seen that most recently is our content guys. We've got a full-time content creator, Sam, who I feel like I have an idea of how I could run our social media, but well, I did for years, you know, but in terms of you know, Reels and TikToks and making more engaging content that we do now, I feel like if I dedicated a lot of my time to it, I could do it to a good enough standard. But he is so much better than me. So much better than me. And now we have different ideas on that, and we, you know, have different opinions, and we'll challenge each other, but it's creatively a collaborative, really good process. And definitely learned that can't even say the word, relinquishing that control is a good thing in that sense. But it's managing different areas of that. So I don't think we could do that all over the business, and obviously, you know, you can't necessarily afford to in the stage we're at. So it is a real challenge, and that does bring the pressure, and that brings having to work the long hours. But it's a labour of love in that if we make this business a success, nobody can take that away from us because we built it from the ground up. And it's like that purpose and that goal is like incredible, and working towards that, it makes all the pressure worth it. And you know, you touched on it, Nick, the bad times. It's so hard. It's so hard. You want to like, it's like, it just beats you up. It eats up at you, but those times make the good times so worth it. Do you know what I mean? And the rewards are just even sweeter and even better in the long run. So, you know, you're better to never get too low and never get too high. But when it's your own business, that's a natural roller coaster that you're going to be on. So it's I wouldn't change it for the world, because I don't think I'm a person who could go into a different. I think I'd struggle with maybe the authority or the lack of autonomy in terms of if I was working with somebody else, I think I would struggle with it.
And becoming a business owner and then going back to not becoming a business owner must be very
because you've
hard.
never really experienced that, have you?
I've had one boss, which was my paper round. The guy who gave me the newspapers. You know, that's it. So it's probably not good from a kind of corporate, if I ever went into that world side of things, but I have no desire to really. That's just the way, you know, the way my brain's wired, and that's maybe you can argue that's a good thing and a bad thing, but it's where we are, and that's just been the natural evolution of this journey.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, the experience that you're getting through doing this, regardless of what happens in the future, like obviously, hopefully, it continues to grow and grow and grow. But like, regardless, if tomorrow like a comet hit and for whatever reason that affected Surprise shares, but didn't affect the rest of the world,
Almost happened a few times.
it just hit the Surprise shares office or something. If that happened, like you gain so much invaluable experience that you would be able to walk into a job very confidently, because your CV as such would be great. It'd be incredible.
Well, thank you. That's very kind of you to say. I think I left school quite early, so in terms of I foregoed like those kind of qualifications, and obviously I was about a third of the way through a business A level when I went. So that's kind of my experience of, you know, education and you're learning about business, but it doesn't compare. Nothing anyone can write in a textbook is anything like the reality of the situation.
I did a degree in marketing, and although it helped me get a job in marketing, I would say the amount of transferable skills are very, very
It's just a foot in the door. It's a piece of paper that people perceive you to need, isn't it?
It gives me like a really baseline kind of core knowledge on very, very corporate marketing. But then when I've got my first job, I was working for a mental health charity and I was like walking around like deprived towns trying to sell like stress management courses that were free and that was hard because people just don't want to get out there.
Don't give you the time.
No, they don't want. Well, people like that who are struggling with their mental health they don't want to. Some people just don't want to leave the house or get out of bed.
And you have to learn on the job with these things. Like I've got no marketing experience. I've done no marketing course. I've done no degree. I've got nothing. Which is why it's good to have people like yourselves where you can form a good relationship, and then that. Because, I'm learning things from you guys all the time, and that kind of collaborative process helps my knowledge grow. But as well, it's just learning on the job, and I think you can't beat that. You can't beat the skills you gain from that, even just in business in general, of literally just living it and running it and knowing that these decisions that I make or the things that we do or the effort that we put in has a direct correlation on our personal circumstance is all the fuel you need and all the motivation you need to just do everything you can.
So then you scrutinize all the specific things that you did wrong, when it comes to marketing, it's like what went right, what went wrong, which type of campaigns do well, which don't, and then you start to get a natural kind of knowledge in your own brain of kind of what's working and what isn't, and that is basically learning. You've learned on the spot about marketing
100%
from a results perspective.
And it has to be trial and error in terms of you can have loads of ideas. I've got loads of ideas of what we can do, but for example, influencer partnerships, trying different verticals with those kind of things and different types of creators. Some work superbly well, others fall flat in the face. So
in a rapidly changing marketplace, influencer market is changing all the time. I feel like it changes from month on month, to be fair, and who knows what will be next.
Absolutely, and it's gone are the days where it's. I was listening to one of your previous podcasts on the way up. Talking about. It used to be radio or TV or billboards, and there was a set amount of things it could be. There is what are the limits to how you market yourself now? I don't think there are any. So you've almost it's almost harder. It's easier and harder in terms of there's so much more you can do, but also so much more that can fail, if that makes sense. So you just the way you have to navigate that is by trying as much as you can and scattergun approach and just being creative, but that's fun, really.
Even just the influencer space has changed so much in the past few years, because I remember when influencers were everywhere, and the whole influencers in the wild accounts popped up and stuff.
Oh, God,
but the way that anyone could effectively be an influencer and it was huge. Whereas now I feel like that's the people are starting to get a bit they don't really like influencers as much. But then now it's almost that the influence side is becoming more of sometimes a more organic sponsorship, where it's a bit more transparent. They have to say it's more of a sponsorship, but then also people are often, I find, quite honest with it, where they're like, look, we've been sponsored by this business, but I actually use this product and this is great, kind of thing. There's a bit more of that now, where people are picking the partnerships because they actually it aligns with their brand as well and what they're building.
And I think that's what helps tying it back into Surprise Shirts. I think that's what helps being, we're not a faceless e-commerce brand. It's not transactional. If you order from us, it will have been the shirt might have been picked by me or packed by my dad, or I'm giving examples, but it's that. When I send out a marketing email from Louis at Surprise Shirts through Klaviyo or whatever, it is from me. If you reply, you'll get a reply from me in 10 minutes. You just will. So it's not when you talk about trust and picking and choosing brand deals and people identifying with and resonating with that, brands that they care about and brands that are authentic and products that are actually good. I think that's totally true, because it's so much easier to buy into something or for an influencer to sell something that they actually believe in. It's like if I came on here and I didn't think Surprise Shirts was good, I wouldn't be convincing in saying that, would I? So being authentic and being organic and putting personality behind things makes such a difference, I think.
Yeah, it really does. This is one of the reasons why we've got this podcast is to put our
show you are
faces in front of because I think look, we're good and you can trust us.
Absolutely. I think that's one of the biggest things we've learned, is the value of people and connections and it's all well and good, having a great working relationship with someone, but I think especially as a family business, those lines have to be blurred. You have to get on with people as well. You have to know that someone's going to go out there and bat for you, especially in like an agency context like this. Like, we've got to know that you've got our back, and it's much more of a collaborative relationship than a transactional one. Do you know what I mean? I feel like there's a bit more emotion in that.
That's really important to success as well. Having that attitude, it's great you have that, because a lot of people don't have that with us, and a lot of times it is very transactional, and that we've had instances where people like don't trust us in what we're doing, and the problem with that is if you collaborate with us, it just makes it so much better. Like, we can work so much closer, and we can, if there's a mistake or something, of course we'll be like, look, shit, I'm sorry this happened, but we're gonna do this.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's sometimes we have people. I always say it's a bit like if you go into a restaurant, you don't tell someone how to cook your food.
Exactly.
And it's a bit like that, where like people don't trust us, but it's like, look, I'm doing this because I really believe this will help. Okay, if you don't agree with that, but let's have that conversation. And sometimes people don't have that conversation, so it's great that you've got that, because that's the way I think it leads to success with it.
And I think again, that's the common theme is probably learning on the job and like being willing to understand and change approach and learn from your experiences and learn from your mistakes and failures and things like that. So that's something that, going back to Dad, I think one of Dad's best traits, and we're both very different in terms of our skills and our personalities, which it complements each other really well, which is good. But I think one of the things he's always said is like the value of people and those personal relationships, and it's not necessarily something that I dismissed. It's just something that, running this business from 16 to now 20 is I'm going to learn a lot, right? That is one of the things, especially in the last like 6 months, that I've realised the value of that personal relationship is worth so much more than I think people would realise. That you can't necessarily put a number on that. It goes so far beyond, because if I know that you guys are really like invested in what we do and care about what we do and love the product and love the brand like we do, rather than a transactional agency, you just become like an extension of the business. Do you know what I mean? And that's what you want it to be.
100%. Yeah. I think unfortunately as well, people just can be dickheads.
People can be dickheads.
And that's it. Like, you'll come across people who are either dickheads or they're just not aligned with the same values. And I think that causes certain issues. So you were talking about your website and how much of a big investment that was. Like, what do you think in your 4 years in business so far, what do you think like your biggest challenges have been? Like, maybe let's keep it to like 2 or 3. What are the biggest? So
at the start, it was probably a lack of capital. So,
money.
Because, we're kind of bootstrap family business. That, I don't come from a background of like a load of money really at all. So it was that redundancy money that my dad got. That's what we invested. That's what we had to play with. So we had to grow everything ourselves. So
put even more pressure on it.
Oh, exactly. The pressure's crazy, but that is, I suppose, that's the fun part. Banks not giving you loans because you've not got 3 years of trading or anything. So in the early stages, I think that was a real issue.
And you were only 16, so they're like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah. Literally, I think we had something like I couldn't be registered as a director of the company for a while. It's like, come on. But so maybe that's another thing, like perception of my age. But I don't really feel that's a problem nowadays. I think I think people respect me for what we've achieved at my age, which is a nice thing. I think the other thing is running an e-commerce business with no idea how to run an e-commerce business, right? So as I say, learning on the job. Dad's got a lot of experience in business, but not in e-commerce at all. I had no experience in anything, so it's just gut feel and just like vibes, basically, which is is always a good way to run a business. But so that naturally is going to set you up for a lot of mistakes.
Yes,
but that's fine if you learn from them. But it's just those mistakes can be costly mistakes. So I think in the last sort of period leading up to this Black Friday, it's been tough because a lot of things test you and a lot of things can go wrong, and it's just how you react to. And I think the key thing is just always learning from that. And it's culminated in, thanks to the help of you guys, it's culminated in, I think, a lot of learning has meant we've had our biggest Black Friday ever, and in November we had our biggest day, biggest week, and biggest month ever.
Yeah.
And
Which is amazing.
That I think has come from learning from mistakes. I'm going to keep saying that. I've said that about 150 times already, but I think it's so true.
I think that's one of the biggest things in business. Is to have success, at least. To what degree that success is, that depends. But to have success, I think, is to learn from your mistakes. To hold your hands
shine a
up.
mirror in your face constantly.
And be like, look, I have fucked up here, or we fucked up, or whatever it is, and go, right, how do we make this better? Like, if we lose a client, every time we lose a client, regardless of how we feel about that situation, the team get together and we sit down and we go, right, what do we learn from this? What do we take from this? What can we improve?
Even if it's like, I never want to work with anyone like that ever again.
Yeah.
There's always something.
There's always a learning.
There's
Yeah,
always
exactly.
something like positive. We try and turn these into a positive. There's always something you can take from it to improve what you're doing, I think.
Exactly, and that's that kind of concept can be bandied around, but I think it's so true. And then I'd say probably the other thing is you just have to be relentless. It's just like constant delayed gratification of I'm
really
not doing
is.
this. I'm not working till 1 a.m. for how I feel today. I'm working for how I will feel in
Future
5
Louis.
years' time.
Yeah.
You know, so that is a constant battle, and it's hard. But it will totally be worth it in the end.
I
So,
think you're right.
I think so.
I don't see why it wouldn't.
I suspect that's relatable for literally anyone building their own business. I'm sure you guys had that in the early stages where it's like, you know, you can feel like you're doing a lot for little reward, but it's not little reward because it's about what you're building. You're building something bigger.
Yeah.
Still even today.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely.
It feels a little bit more validating now with, I don't know, even moving into this office. It's just a bit like, oh shit, this is quite good.
Yeah.
This is like, and we've built this together.
And it's earned, isn't it? It's a tangible thing, like something as simple as the surrounding you're in. You know, like coming in here, it's amazing. So you've earned that. That's come through the work you guys have done. So that's amazing. You know, that's brilliant. And it's those kind of rewards along the way that I think keep you going. Like,
it is.
For example, like a milestone, like having the busiest day ever, or hitting a certain amount of followers on social media, or
it's validating.
Even something as simple as like a million views on a reel or something like that. And it's just all of those little touch points, or meeting a customer in person for us. I know you guys are B2B, but obviously you'd have it with clients. But you know,
like you.
if I deliver, well, exactly, if I deliver a shirt, or I know we go an extra mile for a customer, or we've had a local delivery and they get it 30 minutes later, or whatever it is, you just need those kind of like dopamine hits along the way of little milestones, little wins to keep you going. But that happens when you care about what you're doing, and that makes it all worth it in the end.
Yeah. And I think even having your biggest Black Friday this year is a testament to what you've been doing, because this year, I mean, I don't know yet, the dust hasn't properly settled, but it's been a weird year. And there's definitely been a pullback in spending on e-commerce stuff. We've really seen it and felt it. How that translates across the board, I don't know yet, because it's still so early. But I think you've seen it with other brands as well.
Definitely.
I mean, Black Friday's been creeping earlier and earlier for years now, but this year's just felt a bit different. It feels a bit like people didn't know when to go, when to start, and there was a bit of like
we had
tentativeness.
conversations around that, didn't we?
Yeah, we've had clients who have literally been like, "Shit, sales are dropping. We've got to start tomorrow," type thing, and scrambling to do everything. We've had that internally, but I feel like I've seen it with shops I've bought from as well. So I think to have a good year this year is a testament to what you guys are doing in it, because obviously you want to increase every year, ideally every year. And that's just
you want
business.
progress, don't you?
But sometimes, like we've had conversations. Sometimes, you know, we've had a real good year. The next year we're like, actually, let's be a bit more humble and just be like, the goal is actually to sustain this year, not to grow. It's just to build on what we're doing and then go again the next year after that kind of thing.
Absolutely that, and you can get into this idea of like. And I do it a lot. It's probably the biggest thing. My biggest flaw is comparing myself to the like 0.0001%. Where I'll see some Shopify ecom bros figures on Twitter, and I'm like, oh my god, like hit my head against the wall. But it's all just nonsense, isn't it?
And some of it's probably bullshit.
Exactly.
Well.
So
people lie so much on the internet
because that's what gets you attention. Like I understand the game you're playing. I get it, but and I mean it's good to hear that, and that's one of the things that I'm very glad we've done is grow year on year. But the idea that you have to be growing and it has to be like, you know, to the max, scale. Like, I don't think it's true. You know, there's a lot to be said for consolidating and building stronger foundations and,
Yes.
and getting your actual business practices in place. So
100%,
if
yeah.
things behind the scenes have improved and you're slicker operationally, or you've handled your supply chain better, which is one of the things we nailed this year, which I'm really, really pleased with. That can be an improvement. Your top line might not have grown, but
then you
might be more
future-proofing
profitable.
yourself.
Exactly, it's all gearing yourself up better for the future and being sustainable. So it's amazing to have a really good Black Friday. But I'm actually probably prouder of the kind of learnings we've done and the improvements we've made behind the scenes and where I feel we are at as a business this year compared to last year. I feel like we've achieved so much more in 1 year than we have in the previous 3 of existing. And I feel like hopefully that will just keep getting quicker. And we probably look, even from the outside, it's probably still not not the most sophisticated business in the world in terms of like where we're at processes wise and things like that. But if you compare it to where we were a year, 2 years ago, it'll be so much different, which is really cool.
Yeah.
And if I step back and look at that progress, like now we do 3-year plans and things like that, that we'd never dreamed of before, and that's a really good way of validating. Like, set yourself a list of goals for the year, the business, and ticking all of those off the list, which we've done this year. Now, some of those are decisions we made strategically that didn't go right. Some of them are ones that really went right. Some of them we're going to pivot from in the future. But having a list and going, actually, everything we set out to achieve in January 2024, we've achieved. That's amazing.
It is amazing.
That's a really good thing.
And I feel like as business owners, that is really difficult because you constantly, but I can do better there. But I can do
100%.
better.
And
there's always the thing in my head, it's like, but I can still do better.
Exactly.
If I'd have
And
just worked that extra hour, then I could have done this.
That's not the case,
it's
is
constant.
It's so not the case, but it's a toxic cycle. But you're always going to be in it because I think it's social media, and as I say, comparing yourself to other people. The very nature of consuming anything through social media is people show the best version of themselves. People show if someone's got a nice car, they show it. If someone's got £1 million house, they show it. It's everything is shown. So you're comparing yourself to people's best version of themselves, and it's, as you say, a lot of it's fake. So that naturally you just kind of beat yourself up about that. And I get massive imposter syndrome, right? There'll be days where I sit there and I'm like, how am I running this business at 20? And I'm like looking around at the staff and I'm like, oh my, what is going on here? And there's other days where I feel on top of the world, like we're going to absolutely smash everything. It's just that I think that's just comes naturally with what you're doing. So comparing yourself is always going to happen, but it's not the most healthy thing. But as long as at the end of the day, if you cut out all the noise, you focus on yourself. Is the business in a good place? Are you happy with where it is? Is it fulfilling? Is it becoming what you want it to become? Then that's the success, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. And I think you've already achieved so much already.
Oh, thank you.
And I think that comparison, that kind of culture, I suppose, it's part of society.
Yeah.
But I think that gets easier.
Yeah.
Because you meet more and more and more people, and you realise that they're just doing the same as you, and really, like, we're all people that you like and that you want to do well, like yourself. It don't matter. Like, I want you to do as well as you can possibly take that. I'm not going to compare myself. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
And honestly, I don't give a shit. Like, I've got my life, I know as long as my life is getting better, then people around me, if they can improve as well, then not. Yeah, totally. All for that.
And I guess I know for both of you guys that comes with, I suppose, like family and things like that. Like, you've both got kids. Having someone else to care about, I suppose that plays quite a big part. It's just, I suppose, it stages your life, and I think it's easy to be a 20-year-old on social media and beat myself up about people who are
I would agree.
millionaire at 40 or whatever. And it's like, okay, you've got time, but
of course you've got fucking loads of time.
That's the kind of toxic nature of where you get to. But
things
you guys saying that, like, should be proud of what we've achieved, totally, and I really appreciate that. Like, it means it does mean a lot.
Even things like having kids, you think people talk about like having kids are suddenly now you want to work harder for them and stuff. Yeah. There was like, for me, like I had kids now and then I come to work after it and I'm like, I don't feel anything. Like I don't feel that urge. Yeah. But now years later I do feel it. It's not like a switch that just goes and you want it. It's a gradual thing that just occurs.
It's because when you have babies, you're like, oh my God, this is awful. Yeah. Like, oh my God, I'm building a future for this terrible thing.
Well, I've got 2 sisters, and that's put me off having kids. So.
How old are you? Are they younger? Or?
They're younger, so they're nearly, in April, they'll both be 14 and 13.
Really?
So,
I didn't know that.
Crazy.
Yeah. They'll be part of the business soon then.
Yeah.
I hope not.
Yeah, keep that separate, Dan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's bad enough for your mum and your dad, isn't it?
Yeah, oh God, yeah. No, to be fair, like that's a good point. I think the perception of a family business would be that it's a nightmare. And I don't know how you guys find that dynamic, but I
Absolutely fine, but we
I
have a
love
lot
it.
of people say that as well.
I
yeah.
love it.
Yeah.
Like people say, "Oh, I could not work with my dad."
Yeah.
We don't fall out. We don't fall out. Like we can have an argument,
Yeah.
but
We're the
it's
same,
like
yeah.
30 seconds later, it's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
a problem.
Yeah.
Because I don't know what it is. We just have like a kind of mutual understanding where it's like an unwritten rule of this is work and that's personal life. And don't get me wrong, it's not a normal owning an equal footing in the company with my parents. You know, it's a different dynamic to that kind of like parent-child relationship. It completely is. So I don't have the relationship with my parents. That it's not a traditional like. I suppose it's not a traditional parent-child relationship.
not.
They're more like my mates, but
I think that's
but
cute.
that works for
I
us.
think it's kudos to both of you for,
Yeah.
for you to treat your parents like
Yeah.
that, but your parents to treat you like
Yeah,
that.
yeah, exactly.
And not like over look after you and parent
100%.
you and give you that kind of like that freedom.
Yeah.
And
And
to make those
trust.
mistakes.
The trust is insane.
Trust,
And
yeah,
to
absolutely.
respect your
Yeah.
decisions and
Yeah.
the things that you do
Yeah.
yourself.
And that's why it works, isn't it?
Yeah,
That's why it
100%. And I think
works, yeah.
4 years in, we've really refined that knowledge of knowing where we're all best. So, you know, mum, dad, and I, we've all got different strengths, and knowing whose opinions to draw from, or well, everyone's opinions to draw from, but who's probably the best person to make the decision in this scenario, or I've got a vision, I can see where another thing we could do, or where we can take it that maybe dad can't see, but I can set a goal and he can execute the steps, the minor
Yes.
steps, and it's just that. It's like a yin and yang, you know. It's
Yeah,
perfect balance, and
Yeah.
that's a skill to refine. I assume it's similar for you guys, sort of dynamic where you're both good at different things. I don't.
Yeah.
Oh, massively.
Yeah.
Polar opposites. to
But
me.
I think
But I think that's why it works.
Yeah.
and you can always find a business partner who, you know, like a co-founder or whatever. You can find people like that would complement you well. But I feel like biologically, working with your parents or family, because obviously families can fall out and family dynamics can go wrong, but
Yeah.
your blood. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
Like
yeah,
it's
yeah.
it goes beyond that. So it just works for us. So I wouldn't change it for the world at all.
Yeah, and you have such a deep understanding of each other because you've grown up
Yeah.
for years and years and years and
Yeah.
years.
It's like a natural.
I mean, I am
yeah.
bloody sick of my dad. We go to football together, and I don't spend a minute without him. So I'm fed up of it. No,
That's
I'm
why you're
joking,
here
but-
without him now.
Yeah, exactly. No, I'm here without him now, so this podcast isn't 6 hours long.
Yeah, we right now we'd only be on just the start.
Yeah. We'd still be on days of selling out of Twitter DMs. I think.
yeah. So, yeah, it's an amazing story. But I suppose now, what have you got any idea? Are you just kind of let's see what happens, or have you got any future plans? Have you got any goals? Like,
Yes.
what? I mean, whatever you're comfortable telling us. But I suppose
Yeah.
what is the aim?
So for a long time, I think it just kind of everything just happened to us. We were just kind of like growing a business, and that was happening rather
Yeah.
than sort of setting strategic vision. So, no, we definitely have a strategic vision we want to achieve, and things like the 3-year plans help to execute that. So we have kind of a mission statement. I don't want to go into it too much, just because you know the kind of competitive nature of our space.
Yeah.
Might be people listening, but you know, we have a set aligned goal that's really like blue sky. It's quite an ambitious thing of what we want to achieve, like a headline phrase to work back from.
Yeah.
But I think that gives you vision, and you can probably see it on our website. You know, starting to pivot into slightly different things, all football related and football shirt related. But just to keep building on what we're doing, we've got big creative ideas. We've got plans for 74 of our. We've sold shirts to 74 different countries, customers in 74 different countries, which is crazy.
Yeah.
And that's without really specifically targeting that. So that's a huge opportunity. Football is commercially the most global sport,
Yes.
or globally the most commercial sport. There is not a corner of the world that hasn't been touched by football in some sense.
Yeah.
So
the growth of the game has been absolutely insane over the last, like, since I was born, probably.
Yeah.
Like since the 80s into the 90s. Like the 90s, just football just a completely blew up into the
Yeah. And how commercial it is now, and how global. And so, okay, look at the next World Cup and the last World Cup. So we've had Qatar, and the US is next. So look at the global markets, look at the opportunities in those areas that football is
USA.
growing into.
Although the times for the games, man. God,
Yeah, it will be bad.
I'm
but
38 years old and I'm like watching England at 1 a.m. It's like, no.
Yeah, but also then it's like, what's the next stage of that? So you're seeing I don't know if you've seen, but the Sidemen in the UK have released or partnered with it's called Ballers League. So it's essentially like a 6-a-side or 7-a-side league. It's like almost like mini gaming football, but making it kind of content related and streaming the games, stuff like that. And it's like
I haven't seen this.
It's probably like the 100 for a cricket purist. It's like the worst thing ever, right? But it's that next. It's like the TikTokification of football.
Yeah.
So it's what are that next generation of kids that are 6, 7, 8, 9
interesting.
scrolling on TikTok now? What are they going to want to watch? So from a commercial sense, that's incredible and that's opportunity and that's exciting and that's the future. From a footballing purist sense, it's kind of a bit like you don't want that to tarnish what the beautiful game is.
Yes.
But football is, and always will be, in my opinion, the biggest sport, the most watched sport, and it's just a commercial entity that's just going to grow massively. So that in itself is big opportunity. Now, there's other companies in our space that have diversified into other sports. Now I can completely see what the logic there is. Not really something we want to do, just because I think there's a lot of opportunity in football still, and it's what I know, it's what I'm passionate about. I'm not a basketball fan or I'm not a NFL fan, but I can understand that.
And that can be a big distraction if you don't focus on the areas that you actually care about.
100%. So we have a set vision that we're working towards, and I think the kind of key change has been business practices to move towards that. So setting a strategic vision, 3-year plan, going okay in 2024 when we started it. This is what we want to achieve, and then 2025 and then 2026, and going, okay, what's the timeline? What are the kind of key events? What are the steps to get there? And that essentially is just a collaborative process between mainly Dad and I, but now it involves Sam, our content guy. It will do next year a bit more. Just to have something really tangible to work towards. And that's because you can kind of set your own destiny, and it can be as blue sky as you want, because you need to set big goals to work towards them. It's really fun.
Yeah.
Like I think that's the thing, and it's easy to beat myself up about it and go, oh, I'm tired, because I am tired, because we're working long hours and Black Friday's been crazy. So it takes it out of you, and it's draining, especially now. And on a side note to that, I shouldn't go off on a tangent, but I had this thing where I put so much effort into Black Friday, and it's then like Black Friday's done, my body wants to rest, and now it's Christmas. It's you get over the peak of a mountain, and there's another big one like ahead of you.
That's running a business, to be honest.
It is.
You push, and then you feel like I'm so exhausted, and then you go to sleep, wake up the next day and go, right, let's go.
Let's go again.
You wake up again, don't you?
That is the point I was making in terms of it's so much fun. Like when you think about it, working for yourself, working in something you're passionate about.
It's exhilarating.
Like I assume for you guys as well, if you're passionate about marketing, which I have become as well, marketing my business.
Yeah, it's interesting.
It's fun. You love it. So it becomes a labour of love, and all that sacrifice becomes worth it. So just love it, really.
Great.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
For
That
coming
felt
on.
like 5 minutes. Wow.
Yeah.
That was good fun.
How long was it?
It's 42 minutes.
Yeah, that's good length.
Yeah,
That's
that's
perfect.
Yeah. Nearly ended it with
stuff.
another. That's what she said. Yeah. Okay.
Awesome.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Brilliant.
Thanks,
Really enjoyed
Louis.
it. Thank you both.
Yeah.
Spot on.